Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday, October 27th. From the San Antonio Express News, my name is Luis Vasquez, and this is your Express Briefing. All of the stories you need to know to start your day. You can expect cloudy skies, morning showers, and a high of 60 degrees in San Antonio today. The cold front begins to move out tomorrow, and temperatures should return to the 70s on Thursday. Early voting figures in the 2020 election in Bexar County have surpassed the total for the 2016 election. By lunchtime Monday, more than 440,000 in-person votes have been cast. The 48 early voting sites across the county will be open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. through Friday. Amy Coney Barrett was confirmed to the Supreme Court late Monday by a deeply divided Senate, Republicans overpowering Democrats to install President Donald Trump's nominee days before the election and secure a likely conservative court majority for years to come. And now let's move on to the top stories for the day. As Henry Cisneros drives his Jeep Commander around the west side, passing eateries and churches, the former San Antonio mayor and U.S. Housing Secretary rattles off the owners and histories of houses and buildings. Compared with other communities bordering downtown, development on the near west side has lagged, Cisneros said. The area is cut off by the railroad track and a highway. It's also home to the Bexar County Adult Detention Center and the Haven for Hope homeless shelter. And despite his deep roots and connections, Cisneros is confronting some of the challenges of developing here firsthand. Madison Eisler takes a closer look at the former mayor's plans to turn a Westside building that once housed his grandfather's print shop into a workspace for tech employees and entrepreneurs. The Texas National Guard said Monday it would dispatch up to 1,000 troops to 5 major cities around the state as early as this weekend. But a top general insisted Monday it was not in anticipation of trouble during the November 3rd election. Major General James K. Brown, Chief of Staff of the Guard's commander, said the activation of troops would be for the post-election support of local law enforcement and the Texas Department of Public Safety, as we did previously to deter any other civil disturbance at sites in various cities within Texas, he said. Protecting polling stations has not been on any mission request or in any conversation with the governor's office, he said. Sig Christensen has details on the move and the reaction from local leaders. Historically, pundits and politicians have used the term suburban women as code for middle-aged, white, and affluent. That's no longer true nationally or in Texas, where the suburbs are increasingly diverse in demographics, political ideology, education, and other defining voting characteristics. In interviews, 15 suburban women on both sides of the aisle described deeply divided politics only worsened by 2020, a hellish year that brought the coronavirus pandemic, racial unrest, and economic uncertainty that will linger long after votes are counted. It's the year that anything can happen, but those events have only pushed many suburban women into their existing views, none of which exhibit particular excitement or disdain for a potential President Biden, but rather indicate strong opinions about President Trump. You can find the full story at expressnews.com. Columnist Elena Ayala writes, quote, "Before you vote early, and you should, early voting ends Friday, or before Election Day next Tuesday, remember this one portion of the debate. President Donald Trump stood before the nation and expressed no regret, remorse, or shame for a zero-tolerance policy that intentionally separated children from their parents at the U.S.-Mexico border. If there's justice, Trump and his cabinet and senior advisor Stephen Miller, chief architect of the family separation policy, will be tried for crimes against humanity." You can read Elena Ayala's full column at expressnews.com. To keep our readers up to date on the path of COVID-19, the Express News has built a dashboard of interactive graphics showing the spread of the virus in the San Antonio area, in Texas as a whole, and across the United States. We've also created an interactive map of San Antonio for COVID-19 testing sites that don't require a doctor's referral. You can find a link to the dashboard and the interactive map in this episode's description. Also, be sure to check out other Express News podcasts such as Puro Politics, In Depth, and the Express News editorial board. You can find links to those podcasts in this episode's description. Next up are your need-to-know headlines. You can find all of these headlines and more inside your Express News subscription. As San Antonio hospitalizations began receiving El Paso intensive care unit patients in hopes of relieving pressure on the hard-hit border city, Bexar County's hospital admissions for COVID-19 rose by 11, officials said Monday. No new local deaths were reported. Testing of 4-year-olds and staff at the city's Pre-K for SA East Education Center has yielded no additional coronavirus cases so far, city officials said Monday, a day after closing the center because of 4 staffers and 1 student had tested positive for the virus. Democratic groups are pouring money into Texas, fueling the state's most competitive races with tens of millions of dollars in spending that would have been unthinkable 4 years ago. With just about a week until the November 3rd election that will reveal whether Republicans are able to successfully defend their majority in the Texas House, 2 candidates have filed to run for House Speaker, and both are Democrats. Scientists knew there was water on the moon, but on Monday, for the first time, NASA said it's certain that at least a tiny amount of water does exist in sunny regions of the moon. Cooter Brown Saloon is one of the latest business casualties of the coronavirus pandemic. Mexican Manhattan has also served its last plate after more than 60 years in downtown San Antonio. Former New York City mayor and one-time presidential candidate Mike Bloomberg is funneling more than $2 million to help a Democrat capture a seat on the state's little-known board overseeing the oil and gas industry. Former Texas Governor Rick Perry tore into Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden for calling a transition away from fossil fuels and warned the state's more than 400,000 oil and gas workers not to trust Biden's statement on fracking. The Department of Defense announced Monday that Texas A&M will lead a $100 million initiative to improve the military's flight technology to, among other things, make jets go faster. Texas Western Warehouse is shuttering all of its stores, including 3 San Antonio locations, according to its website. Valero Energy Corporation agreed to pay a $2.85 million fine and to improve its emission controls and fuel quality management to settle alleged violations of the Clean Air Act that the Environmental Protection Agency identified in an audit. There are 2 San Antonios, the Express News editorial board writes. The first is inhabited by educated, affluent, largely white people who may have weathered the crisis or even prospered. Then there's everyone else. Read the latest editorial on why women were hit the hardest at expressnews.com. Halloween is a fun-filled fright fest for Morena Hockley and her family. Hockley inherited her passion for Halloween from her mother, from Italy, and her father, a Southerner who couldn't celebrate Halloween in his strict religious home. The only person who loves putting up the displays as much as Hockley is her husband, a Navy veteran. Growing up, Andy Hockley's family couldn't afford to spend on things other than food and clothes. Now he has the means to buy all of the things he wanted as a child. Learn more about the Hockley family's annual Halloween display at expressnews.com. Cotulla is in the middle of jamming 6 district games into a 29-day period. UIL allows 5 days between games. In order to help Cotulla play a full league slate, District 143A1 will have 3 games Tuesday. Freshman forward Precious Achiuwa was thrust into the limelight at Memphis last season after a would-be star James Wiseman announced in December he was leaving school to focus on the NBA draft. Jeff McDonald has what you need to know about Achiuwa in his draft profile. The past 2 years, octopus has increasingly shown up in area restaurant menus and makes for a delicious striking dish. Chuck Blunt shows us how to grill octopus at home in his latest article. And that's all for today. This was your Express Briefing for Tuesday, October 27th. My name is Luis Vasquez. Please consider becoming an Express News subscriber to get in-depth coverage on all the stories you heard today. Also, be sure to rate and review this podcast inside of your Apple Podcasts app, as it really helps the show. Have a wonderful day, everyone.